The council chamber stretched across 3 kilometers of empty space, held together by energy fields that humans had not yet discovered. Inside, beings from 847 different worlds floated, crawled, or stood in their designated areas. Some breathed oxygen, others needed methane or pure radiation. The translation systems hummed constantly, turning thousands of languages into something each species could understand. Ambassador Velthar of the Corvix Empire raised 3 of his 7 appendages. The chamber fell silent. He had called this meeting, and everyone knew why. The vote would happen today. The matter before us is simple, Velthar said. His voice came out as clicks and whistles, but the translators made it sound like thunder. A new species has achieved faster than light travel. They call themselves humans. They come from a planet they call Earth. Murmurs filled the chamber. New species were rare. The galaxy had been mapped for 2 million years. Every habitable world was known. Every intelligent species was already part of the council, or scheduled to join within the next few thousand years. New arrivals were always surprising. How did we miss them? Asked Representative Kix from the Methane Collective. Her gas form shimmered with confusion colors. They were monitored, Velthar replied. 300 cycles ago, they were using primitive rockets. They barely reached their own moon. We classified them as pre-contact and scheduled a proper introduction for 50,000 cycles from now. 50,000 cycles is appropriate for their development level, said another representative. Why are we discussing them now? Velthar's form darkened with anger colors. Because 3 months ago they achieved FTL travel. They jumped from primitive rockets to faster-than-light ships in just 300 cycles. The chamber exploded with noise. 300 cycles was nothing. Most species took 50,000 cycles to develop FTL after their first rockets. Some took 100,000. 300 cycles was impossible unless someone gave them the technology. Who violated the technology protocols? Demanded an elder from the Silicon Collective. Who gave primitives our FTL designs? No one, Velthar said quietly. The chamber went silent again. They developed it themselves. They used principles that our scientists said were impossible. Their drive system should not work according to established physics, but it does work. They have 7 ships now, crude, dangerous but functional. Far away from this meeting on the edge of Earth's solar system, Commander Jihoon stared at his sensor screen. He was 34 years old and had been in space for 6 years. He commanded Jupiter Station, humanity's furthest outpost. The station was small, just 200 people, and its only job was to watch for anything unusual coming from deep space. The sensor screen showed nothing but stars and the usual background radiation. Everything was normal. Everything was quiet. Jihoon rubbed his tired eyes and checked the time. His shift would end in 3 hours. Commander, you should see this, said Dr. Yuna from the science station. She was 29 and had joined the station just 2 months ago. She specialized in studying radiation patterns from distant stars. What is it? Jihoon asked, walking over to her console. Gravitational anomalies, Yuna said, pointing at her screen. Lots of them. At the edge of our detection range. Something big is moving out there. Very big. Jihoon felt his stomach tighten. The sensors were new and often gave false readings, but Yuna was the best scientist they had. If she said something was there, something was probably there. How big? He asked. I cannot tell exactly, Yuna admitted, but the distortions suggest multiple massive objects. Maybe 1,000. Maybe more. They are moving in formation toward our solar system. In the council chamber, the vote was about to begin. Velthar had spent the last hour explaining why Earth needed to be invaded now, before humans became a threat. He showed recordings of their wars, their weapons, their aggressive nature. He showed how quickly they developed new technologies. He showed their population growth and resource consumption rates. They are dangerous, Velthar concluded. In 50,000 cycles, they could threaten the entire galaxy. We must act now while they are weak. We relocate them to a suitable primitive world, where they can live in peace under our guidance. We claim Earth's resources for the greater good of the Council. This is standard procedure. We have done this 400 times before. The vote began. Green lights appeared across the chamber for yes votes. Red lights for no. The counting took 20 minutes because democracy across 847 species was slow. But eventually the result appeared on every screen. 723 voted yes. 124 voted no. The invasion was approved. Captain Minho received the emergency message while his ship was docked at Mars Station. He was 41 years old and commanded the Indomitable, Earth's most advanced warship. Advanced was a relative term. The Indomitable was experimental and had never been in real combat. Its weapons were untested, its shields were theoretical, but it was the best humanity had. All crew report to stations immediately, Minho said over the ship's communication system. We launch in 30 minutes. This is not a drill. His crew of 200 scrambled to their positions. Most of them were young. The oldest besides Minho was 35. They had trained for combat but never expected to actually see it. Humanity had achieved FTL just 3 months ago. They had barely started exploring nearby stars. They were not ready for war, but ready or not, something was coming. Earth's governments received Jihoon's report and went into emergency sessions. Military leaders studied the data and felt sick. The gravitational reading suggested a fleet of enormous size. If hostile, Earth's defenses would be useless. Humanity had 12 FTL-capable ships total. 7 were small research vessels. 5 were military, but only the Indomitable was built for actual combat. We need more time, said General Park in the emergency meeting. We need years to build proper defenses. We might have weeks, replied Dr. Unji, head of Earth's defense research. She was 45 and had warned about this possibility for years. If those ships are hostile and coming here, they will arrive soon. We must prepare now. The Council fleet began moving. 50,000 ships of various sizes. The largest armada assembled in 80,000 years. The fleet commander was Supreme Admiral Thorax, veteran of 300 campaigns, undefeated in battle. He had destroyed rebellions, conquered primitive worlds, and enforced council law across half the galaxy. Invading Earth would take 3 weeks of travel time and perhaps 3 hours of actual fighting. It would be his easiest victory yet, or so he thought. Minho took the Indomitable out of Mars orbit and began the journey toward the edge of the solar system. His orders were to observe and report, not to engage. But as he stared at the star-filled view screen ahead, he had a feeling those orders would change very soon. Behind him on Earth, factories began working triple shifts. Scientists pulled out every experimental design that had been rejected as too dangerous or too expensive. Civilians volunteered by the millions for training programs that would not be finished in time. Earth's leaders knew the truth that they could not say publicly. Humanity was probably doomed, but they would not surrender without a fight. The Indomitable reached Neptune's orbit after 3 days of flying at maximum speed. Captain Minho stood on the bridge watching his crew work with quiet efficiency. They were scared. He could see it in their faces, in the way their hands shook slightly when they touched their controls. But they stayed at their stations and did their jobs. That was all he could ask. Contact, said Lieutenant Sora from the weapons station. She was 26 years old and had the best tactical scores in her academy class. Multiple ships dropping out of FTL. Distance 2 million kilometers. Count is, wait, the count keeps rising. 50 ships, 100, 500. Her voice got quieter. Still counting. Minho felt ice in his chest, but he kept his face calm. His crew needed to see confidence, even if it was fake. Keep counting. Communications, are you ready? Ready, sir, replied the communications officer. We have the first contact message prepared in all major Earth languages and the 70 alien languages we discovered in our database. Good, Minho said. The moment they try to communicate, respond with our message. Let them know we are not afraid. The alien fleet finished arriving. The final count was 8,000 ships in this first wave. 8,000 ships against 1. The odds were so bad they were almost funny. Minho thought about turning back, but his orders were clear. Make contact. Show humanity's presence. Do not show weakness. The alien flagship was huge, maybe 20 times the size of the Indomitable. It moved forward slowly, leaving the rest of the fleet behind. A communication signal came through, and the translation software went crazy trying to decode it. After 30 seconds, it worked. The message played on every screen in the bridge. An alien appeared, tall and thin with 7 arms and skin that changed colors. Its voice came through the translators as deep and commanding. Primitive vessel, you have entered a controlled zone during a council military operation. Power down your weapons and prepare to be escorted to a processing station. Your species will be evaluated for relocation. Resistance will result in destruction. Cooperation will result in minimal casualties. You have 60 seconds to comply. The bridge was silent. Everyone looked at Minho. He thought about all the things he could say, all the diplomatic words he had been taught. Then he thought about Earth, about the 3 billion people living their lives, not knowing that aliens had decided to take their world away. "Send our message," Minho said quietly. Sora pressed the button. The message went out in 847 alien languages plus 7,000 Earth languages. It was simple, just one word repeated in every language they knew. Why? The alien commander seemed confused. The colors on his skin shifted rapidly. He sent another message. "Clarification is not required. You have 40 seconds to comply." "Send it again," Minho ordered. "Keep sending it. I want to know why they think they can take our world." The alien commander's patience clearly ran out. A massive energy beam shot from the flagship toward the Indomitable. The human ship's shields caught most of it, but the impact threw everyone on the bridge against their safety restraints. Alarms screamed. Smoke filled the air. "Damage report," Minho shouted over the noise. "Shields at 40%, called out engineer Hyunwoo from his station. He was 38 and had designed most of the ship's power systems himself. "Hull breaches on decks 7 and 9. We can take maybe 2 more hits like that." Minho made his decision. They could run, maybe escape back to Earth. Or they could fight and probably die but learn something useful about the enemy. If they ran, the next human ships would face the same unknown threat. If they fought, they might discover a weakness. The choice was obvious. "All power to weapons and engines," Minho ordered. "Sora, plot a strike course directly at that flagship." "Hyunwoo, I need everything the FTL drive can give us." "Sir?" Sora turned to look at him. "You want to attack? All of them?" "No," Minho said with a cold smile. "Just the flagship. If we are going to die, we will die making them regret this." The Indomitable accelerated toward the alien flagship at a speed that made the aliens scramble. Their ships were fast, but human FTL drives were built on different principles. Unstable principles. Dangerous principles. But they allowed for sudden acceleration and direction changes that alien ships could not match. Sora fired every weapon the Indomitable had. Missiles, energy beams, kinetic rounds, even the experimental plasma cannon that had never been tested in real conditions. The weapons hit the flagship's shields and did almost nothing. The alien ship was too well protected. But the 3 escort ships around the flagship were smaller. Their shields were weaker. Sora's second volley hit all 3 at once, targeting spots where she calculated the shields would be weakest. She was right. 2 escort ships exploded. The third lost power and began drifting. "Impossible," said Supreme Admiral Tharix on the flagship's bridge. He watched the small human ship dodge return fire from 6 different vessels. "Their ship is too primitive for those maneuvers. Our intelligence said they barely understood FTL physics." "Perhaps our intelligence was wrong," suggested his tactical officer nervously. The Indomitable took a direct hit from a heavy cruiser. The shields collapsed. The hull tore open in 4 places. 50 crew members died instantly when Deck 4 lost atmosphere. Minho felt the ship shaking apart around him. "Hyunwoo, can we jump?" he asked. The engineer was covered in blood from a head wound, but his hands still flew across his controls.
"Maybe. The FTL drive is damaged but still functional."
"But jumping from inside a gravity well is dangerous. We could end up anywhere." "We could end up nowhere." "Do it," Minho ordered. "Jump us back to Jupiter. Now." The Indomitable vanished from normal space just as 3 more energy beams converged on its location. When it reappeared near Jupiter Station, half the ship was on fire. 70 crew members were dead and the FTL drive was melting down. But they had survived. More importantly, they had hurt the enemy. Ji-hoon watched the Indomitable's emergency landing at Jupiter Station with his heart pounding. The ship looked like it had been through a shredder. He immediately ordered all medical teams to the docking bay and began preparing a full report for Earth Command. When Minho was carried out on a stretcher with a broken leg and 3 broken ribs, Ji-hoon rushed to his side. "What happened out there?" Minho grabbed Ji-hoon's arm with surprising strength for an injured man. "Tell Earth Command," he said, coughing. "Tell them the aliens are not gods. They bleed, they die. We killed 3 of their ships. If 1 human ship can kill 3, then Earth can win this. Tell them we can win." Back at the alien flagship, Supreme Admiral Tharix stared at the damage reports. 3 escort vessels destroyed. 1 battlecruiser damaged. 43 crew members dead. All because of 1 primitive ship with inferior technology. He sent an urgent message back to the Council. The message contained just 7 words. But those words sent shockwaves through the council chambers. These humans fight like the forgotten ones. Every representative who heard that message felt ancient fear wake up inside them. The Forgotten Ones had nearly destroyed the entire galaxy 80,000 years ago. They were a warrior race that refused to surrender, refused to negotiate, refused to accept any outcome except total victory. The Council had spent 10,000 years destroying them completely, and now the humans were compared to them. On Earth, governments received Minho's report and made a decision. If the aliens wanted war, they would get war. Every factory switched to military production. Every scientist began working on weapons. Every volunteer was accepted into training. Earth had perhaps 2 weeks before the full alien fleet arrived. 2 weeks to prepare for impossible odds. 2 weeks to get ready for a war they would probably lose. But humans had faced impossible odds before and survived. They would do it again, or they would die trying. Dr. Yuna worked without sleeping for 3 days straight. After the Indomitables battle, Earth Command had given her access to every piece of wreckage recovered from the destroyed alien ships. She was a xenobiologist, trained to study alien life, but now she was studying alien technology, trying to find any weakness humanity could exploit. On her screen, data from the alien computer system slowly revealed itself. The translation software was primitive, but it worked well enough. What she found made her feel sick and angry at the same time. "Commander Ji-hoon," she called out across the research lab. "You need to see this." Ji-hoon walked over, drinking his 5th cup of coffee that day. He had not slept much either. "What did you find?" Yuna pointed at her screen. "The aliens have done this before, 400 times before. They find species that are developing too fast, species they consider dangerous, and they invade. They take the resources from those species' homeworlds and move the people to primitive planets where they can be controlled. They call it integration. It is really conquest. 400 species," Ji-hoon said slowly. The number was staggering. How many of those species survived the integration? Yuna checked her data. All of them. The Council is not genocidal. They keep the species alive, but they stop their development. No technology above a certain level. No space travel. No weapons. The integrated species become farmers and artists on primitive worlds, while the Council takes everything valuable from their original planets. "We would rather die," Ji-hoon said quietly. "I know," Yuna replied. "But we are different from the other 400 species in one important way. Look at this." She brought up another file. This is the Council's analysis of how long it took those 400 species to develop FTL travel after inventing rockets. The fastest was 42,000 years. The slowest was 190,000 years. The average was 63,000 years. "How long did it take us?" Ji-hoon asked, though he already knew the answer. 300 years, Yuna said. "We are 200 times faster than the fastest species they ever encountered. They cannot understand how we did it. Their scientists say our FTL drive should not work. The principles we used were tried and rejected by every other species as too dangerous or too unpredictable." Ji-hoon smiled for the first time in days. "We did not know it was supposed to be impossible, so we did it anyway." On Earth, the response to the invasion threat was unlike anything in human history. Every nation put aside their differences and worked together. Every corporation shared their technology freely. Every citizen contributed whatever they could. The unity was born from terror but also from determination. Humanity would not go quietly into the night. Colonel Taewon commanded ground defense forces at the main military headquarters. He was 39 and had spent 20 years in special operations before taking this command position. His job was to prepare for the worst-case scenario where alien forces landed on Earth's surface. "We need anti-aircraft weapons that can hit ships in orbit," he said to his team. "We need bunkers that can survive bombardment from space. We need plans to keep fighting even if our major cities are destroyed." His second-in-command looked overwhelmed. "Sir, we have 2 weeks. These preparations would normally take years." "Then we work faster," Taewon said simply. "Get me every engineer we have. Get me every construction company. I do not care if it is perfect. I care if it works." Across the planet, similar conversations were happening. Dr. Jian, a 32-year-old quantum physicist, was called into an emergency meeting with Earth's top scientists. She had been working on theoretical shield technology for 5 years, but her designs were considered too experimental and too expensive to build. "How long would it take you to build a working prototype?" asked Dr. Yunji, head of defense research. Jian did some mental calculations. With unlimited resources and a full team, maybe 2 years, maybe 3. You have 11 days, Yunji said, and you have unlimited resources. Whatever you need, you get. Can you do it? Jian thought about saying no. She thought about explaining all the things that could go wrong, all the tests that needed to be done, all the safety protocols that had to be followed. Then she thought about the alien fleet coming to take Earth away from humanity. Yes, she said, I can do it. 27-year-old Junho was a civilian coordinator who had volunteered immediately after hearing about the alien threat. His job was to organize other civilians into support roles, freeing up military personnel for combat training. Within 3 days, he had 5 million volunteers organized into teams handling logistics, medical support, communications, and food production. We cannot fight, Junho told his volunteers at a massive meeting. Most of us have no military training, but we can support those who do fight. We can build things. We can transport things. We can feed people and heal people and keep society functioning while our military protects us. That is how we help win this war. The production numbers coming from Earth shocked the alien scouts monitoring the planet. In 1 week, humanity produced 3,000 defensive satellites. In 10 days, they built 200 new warships of various sizes. Most of these warships were untested, built from experimental designs that might or might not work. But they existed, and that was what mattered. The aliens watching this could not understand the economics of it. Where did humans get the resources? How did they manufacture so quickly? Why were they willing to build untested designs that might explode when activated? One alien analyst sent a report to Supreme Admiral Tharix. The humans are producing weapons faster than we can count them. Their manufacturing capacity violates every economic model we have. They are either using technology we do not understand, or they are so desperate they do not care about efficiency or safety. Tharix read the report and made a decision. We attack in 3 days. We do not give them any more time to prepare. On Earth, humanity knew they needed more time but would not get it. Captain Minho, recovered enough to leave medical care, was promoted to admiral and given command of Earth's entire space defense force. All 212 ships. It was the smallest fleet any admiral in human history had ever commanded, but it was all Earth had. Sora, promoted to captain, now commanded her own vessel. A small fast attack ship designed for hit-and-run tactics. She spent her time training with 50 other captains of similar ships, developing coordination that would allow them to fight as a swarm. We cannot win by trading shots with them, Sora explained to her fellow captains. Their ships are bigger and better protected, but they are also slower. We hit them fast, jump away and hit them again from a different angle. We make them chase us. We frustrate them. We survive long enough for our other forces to do damage. Engineer Hyunwoo had made a discovery that both excited and terrified him. The human FTL drive could be weaponized. A ship could jump directly inside another ship's shields, appear in their reactor room, and detonate. It would destroy both ships, but the exchange rate favored the smaller ship. It is suicide, Hyunwoo explained to Admiral Minho. About a 40% chance both ships are completely destroyed. Maybe 30% chance both ships are heavily damaged. Only 30% chance the attacker might survive. Those are terrible odds, Minho said. Yes, sir. How many volunteers would we need for a tactic like this? Hyunwoo pulled up a list on his tablet and handed it to Minho. The admiral looked at the list and felt his throat tighten. The list had 300 names. Every single pilot in the Earth fleet had volunteered. On the day before the alien fleet was scheduled to arrive, Earth broadcast a message to the approaching ships. The message was transmitted in all 847 alien languages and was simple and direct. Turn back. We do not want war, but we will not surrender our home. You voted to invade. We vote to survive. Your move. Supreme Admiral Tharix received the message and laughed. Survive against 50,000 ships? Against weapons that had conquered hundreds of worlds? Against the combined might of the Galactic Council? Impossible. But as he looked at the intelligence reports showing Earth's frantic preparations, showing humans building weapons at impossible speeds and volunteering for suicide missions, he felt something he had not felt in 300 campaigns. He felt doubt. The alien fleet arrived at the edge of Earth's solar system like a swarm of metal locusts. 50,000 ships, the largest military force assembled in 80,000 years. They moved in perfect formation, a demonstration of the Council's power and organization. Supreme Admiral Tharek stood on his flagship's bridge and felt confident. This would be his easiest victory. Admiral Minho watched the enemy fleet appear on his screens from the command center on Mars orbit. His own fleet of 212 ships looked pathetic in comparison. But he had learned something important from his first battle with the aliens. They expected humans to be logical, to calculate odds, to surrender when defeat was certain. Humans did not always work that way. "Send the response," Minho ordered. The alien commander broadcast surrender terms, standard procedure. Humanity would be relocated, Earth would be claimed, resistance would be punished. The terms were not negotiable. Tharek expected either surrender or silence. What he got instead shocked him. "Leave peacefully or leave in pieces," came the human response. Tharek felt anger surge through him. These primitives dared to threaten the Council? He gave the order to attack, and the battle for Earth began. The first wave of alien ships advanced toward Mars. They expected to sweep aside the human defenses and reach Earth within hours. Instead, they ran into a minefield that stretched across 3 million kilometers of space. The mines were simple, crude even, but there were thousands of them. The aliens lost 300 ships in the first 10 minutes. What kind of species wastes resources on static defenses? Tharek demanded. Mines are inefficient. They cannot move or adapt. His tactical officer checked the data nervously. "Sir, they deployed the mines in patterns we did not anticipate. They seem to have predicted our formation movements." The alien fleet adapted and pushed through the minefield. Accepting casualties is unavoidable. That was when the defensive satellites activated. 3,000 satellites, each equipped with Dr. Gion's revolutionary quantum shields and experimental weapons. The shields absorbed hits that should have vaporized the satellites instantly. The weapons fired in coordinated patterns that targeted weak points in alien armor. Captain Sora led her swarm of 50 small ships into the alien formation. They moved like angry wasps, jumping in and out of existence, never staying in one place long enough for the aliens to target them effectively. Each ship carried minimal weapons but maximum speed. They did not try to destroy the big alien ships. They targeted sensors, communications arrays, and engine ports. "We are not trying to kill them," Sora explained to her pilots over the communication channel. "We are trying to blind them and slow them down. Make them confused. Make them angry. Make them make mistakes." It worked. The alien formation began to break apart as ships lost contact with each other or had to slow down for repairs. The Council's perfect order dissolved into chaos. Individual ships chased after Sora's swarm, abandoning their positions and making themselves vulnerable. The aliens lost 1,200 ships in the first 6 hours. It was the worst casualty rate they had experienced in modern warfare. Tharek could not understand how primitives with inferior technology were winning. His anger turned to rage. "All ships advance at maximum speed," he ordered. "Ignore the small craft. Focus on reaching Earth itself. We will bombard their planet directly." Colonel Taiwan watched the alien fleet change tactics from his bunker command center. He had hoped Earth's space forces could stop the aliens before they reached orbit. That was not going to happen. The aliens were willing to take massive casualties to reach their target. Taiwan activated the Planetary Defense Network, orbital weapons platforms built in just 11 days and never properly tested, rose from hidden locations across Earth's surface. They fired at the approaching alien ships with everything they had. Energy beams, missiles, kinetic rounds, and even experimental plasma weapons created a wall of destruction around Earth. The aliens pushed through it, but every kilometer cost them ships and lives. Dr. Gion's quantum shields activated around major Earth cities. The shields flickered and strained under alien bombardment, but they held. Barely. Gion worked frantically in the control center, manually adjusting shield frequencies to match each new type of weapon the aliens used. She knew the shields would eventually fail, but every minute they survived meant fewer civilian casualties. Engineer Hyunwoo was aboard a small attack craft with 24 volunteers. They had all trained for this moment. The suicide tactic: jump inside an enemy ship's shields and detonate. The odds were terrible. The survival rate was almost zero, but Admiral Minho had given the order and they had all volunteered. "Remember," Hyunwoo said to his team over the communication channel, "we target the largest ships, the dreadnoughts. Every dreadnought we destroy is worth 20 smaller ships. Our lives can save thousands of others. It is a good trade. 25 small ships jumped simultaneously. 25 ships appeared inside the shields of 25 alien dreadnoughts. 25 ships detonated their reactors at maximum overload. The explosions tore through the dreadnoughts from the inside, where their armor was weakest. 30 alien dreadnoughts were destroyed. The human casualties were total. All 25 ships, all 500 crew members. But the psychological impact on the aliens was devastating. The Council's forces had never faced an enemy willing to trade lives like this. It made no economic sense. It violated all logical military strategy. It was insane. It was also effective. The alien fleet began to slow down. Individual commanders started questioning their orders. Was taking Earth worth this cost? Was integrating one more species worth losing thousands of ships? The Council had promised this would be easy. They had lied or been wrong. Admiral Minho saw the alien hesitation and pressed the advantage. All ships, full attack. Show them we will never stop. Show them we will never surrender. Make them afraid. The human fleet, now down to 130 operational ships, threw themselves at the alien formation with reckless courage. They took terrible casualties, but they inflicted casualties too. Every human ship that died took at least 3 alien ships with it. The math was simple and brutal. Earth was trading lives in ships at a rate that would destroy the planet. But it was also bleeding the alien fleet faster than they expected. After 18 hours of continuous combat, the alien fleet had lost 8,000 ships. Earth's space forces were down to 67 operational vessels. The planetary defenses were running out of ammunition. Dr. Jian's shields were failing in several cities. Colonel Taewon's ground forces were preparing for the worst. And then something happened that nobody expected. Supreme Admiral Tharix sent a message to Admiral Minho. Not a demand. Not a threat. A request. Human Commander, I request a ceasefire to discuss terms. On the Council flagship's bridge, silence filled the air. The officers could not believe what they had just heard. The Supreme Admiral was asking for negotiations. The Invincible Council was requesting to talk with primitives. It was unthinkable, but Tharix had done the calculations. The alien fleet could still win this battle. They had enough ships to overwhelm Earth's defenses eventually, but the cost would be catastrophic. They would lose maybe 20,000 ships total. They would need decades to replace those losses. And what would they gain? One planet. Resources that could be found elsewhere. Control over a species that would fight them forever. The math no longer made sense. Admiral Minho received the message and looked around at his exhausted crew. They had been fighting for almost a full day without rest. They had performed miracles. They had hurt an enemy that was supposed to be unbeatable, but they were also losing. Earth's defenses were crumbling. The planet itself would survive the battle, but human civilization might not. Accept the ceasefire, Minho ordered. Let us see what they want to discuss. The battle for Earth paused. Both sides held their positions. Both sides treated their wounded. Both sides wondered what would happen next. The war was not over, but something had changed. For the first time in 2 million years, the Galactic Council had been forced to negotiate with a species they intended to conquer. And in the Council chambers back at their capital, the representatives watched the battle reports in stunned silence. The impossible had happened. A primitive species with 200 ships had fought 50,000 Council vessels to a standstill. The galaxy would never be the same. The neutral meeting vessel hung in space between Earth and the alien fleet. Admiral Minho walked through the airlock accompanied by Commander Jihoon and Dr. Yuna. They wore simple military uniforms with no weapons. The aliens had insisted on no weapons for either side. That was fine. The real weapons were words, and humans were about to use them. Supreme Admiral Tharix waited in the conference room with 2 of his senior officers. He had fought in 300 campaigns and conquered dozens of worlds, but he had never negotiated with anyone before. Conquered species did not get to negotiate. They surrendered or died. But these humans were different. They fought like demons and showed no fear of death. They had cost the Council 8,000 ships and would cost thousands more if the battle continued. Admiral Minho, Tharix said through the translator, I am authorized to offer new terms. Your species will be integrated into the Council. You will keep your planet. You will have limited self-governance. In return, you will accept Council authority and allow monitoring of your technological development. These are generous terms. Minho listened carefully, then shook his head. No, Tharix felt confusion. No, you reject survival. We are offering you peace. You are offering us a cage, Ji-hoon said, stepping forward. We know what integration means. We recovered data from the ships we destroyed. We know about the 400 other species you conquered and relocated. We know you limit their technology and control their development. That is not peace. That is slavery. It is order, Tharix replied, his colors shifting with anger. For 2 million years, the Council has maintained peace across the galaxy. We prevent wars. We prevent dangerous technologies from destroying civilizations. We protect everyone. You protect your power, Dr. Yuna said quietly. She activated a holographic display and showed data recovered from alien computers. These are the 400 species you integrated. Look at their development rates before and after integration. Before integration, they innovated and grew. After integration, their development stopped completely. You did not save them. You froze them. The 3 humans had spent days preparing for this negotiation. They knew their only chance was to change the entire conversation. They could not win by discussing Earth alone. They had to make the Council question everything. We have a different proposal, Minho said. He transmitted a document to the alien systems. Freedom for all species to develop without interference. Restructuring of the Galactic Council to include all civilizations, not just the ancient ones. An end to forced integration. An end to technological monitoring and control. Tharix stared at the document in disbelief. You are primitives who have had FTL travel for 3 months, and you are demanding that we change a system that has worked for 2 million years? This is insanity. This is justice, Ji-hoon replied. Your system has worked for you, for the powerful civilizations who control the Council. But what about the 400 species you conquered? What about the dozens of species currently waiting for integration? Did anyone ask them if your system works? The Council acts for the greater good of all species, Tharix said, but his conviction sounded weaker. The Council acts to maintain the Council's power, Minho said bluntly. You found a system that keeps you in control, and you convinced yourselves it was for everyone's benefit. But now you face a choice. Accept our proposal or return to battle knowing that even if you win, the truth will spread. 400 conquered species will learn that the Council can be resisted. They will learn that you can bleed. They will learn that your power is not absolute. The threat was clear. Earth might lose the battle, but the idea of resistance would survive. The Council had maintained control through overwhelming force and the belief that resistance was impossible. Humans had shattered that belief. Even if Earth was destroyed, the damage was done. Tharix needed to consult with the Council itself. He sent a secure message back to the capital, explaining the situation. The Council representatives debated for 6 hours while the ceasefire held. Some wanted to reject the human demands and finish the invasion. Others saw the danger. If they destroyed Earth after a costly battle, every suppressed species would see it as proof that the Council feared resistance. If they negotiated, they showed weakness but also wisdom. The vote was close. 437 voted to negotiate. 410 voted to continue the invasion. The decision was made by a margin of 27 votes out of 847 civilizations. The terms took 3 days to finalize. Earth would remain independent. Humanity would have a seat on the Galactic Council. All 400 integrated species would be given the choice to remain integrated or regain independence. The Council would end all technological restrictions for any species that chose independence. A new department of free development would be created to help species share technology safely, without forced control. In return, humanity agreed to share their rapid development methods with other species. They agreed to help the Council understand how humans achieved FTL so quickly. They agreed to work with other species on managing dangerous technologies without outright bans. The changes went far beyond Earth. Within 1 year, 300 of the 400 integrated species chose independence. The Council, reduced to 547 member civilizations at first, began accepting new members who had been denied entry before. The membership grew to 1,248 civilizations within 2 years. Commander Ji-hoon became humanity's first galactic ambassador at age 34. He spent his days negotiating treaties, resolving disputes, and teaching other species that the Council could be reformed rather than destroyed. It was exhausting work, but he had never felt more alive. Dr. Yuna led the new Xenological Institute on Earth, where humans and aliens studied each other's biology, culture, and technology. She discovered that many alien species had innovations they never developed because Council restrictions labeled them as too dangerous. With restrictions lifted, galactic innovation increased by 4,000% in 5 years. Admiral Minho commanded the combined fleet, a new military force that integrated human tactics with alien technology. Ships from 200 different species trained together, learning that diversity in tactics and thinking made them stronger than any uniform approach. The galaxy was not more peaceful, but conflicts were resolved faster and with fewer casualties. Captain Sora became an instructor at the Galactic Defense Academy established on Earth. She taught tactical innovation to students from dozens of species. Her most important lesson was simple but revolutionary for many aliens to understand. There is no perfect tactic. There is only adaptation. Colonel Taiwan built defensive networks for newly independent species who feared retaliation from Council hardliners. His expertise in preparing for impossible odds made him the most requested military consultant in the galaxy. He trained 15 species in defensive warfare and never charged for his services. He said he was repaying the universe for letting humanity survive. Dr. Jian shared her quantum shield technology freely with any species that wanted it. Within 3 years, her shields were standard equipment on civilian ships across the galaxy. She received awards from 40 different civilizations, but her favorite recognition came from a species called the Methane Collective. They named a new type of energy field after her. She cried when she learned about it. Engineer Hyunwoo survived the battle, one of only 5 pilots from the suicide mission who made it home. He spent years dealing with guilt over the 500 who died, but eventually he found peace in teaching. He trained the next generation of human engineers and always told them the same thing. Innovation requires risk. Risk requires courage. Courage requires knowing what you fight for. Junho became the director of Galactic Civilian Integration, helping newly independent species rebuild their societies and economies. His talent for organizing millions of people translated well to organizing entire civilizations. He worked 18-hour days and loved every minute of it. 5 years after the battle for Earth, the Galactic Council held a memorial service for all who died in the conflict. 8,000 alien crew members, 6,000 human crew members, representatives from every council species attended. They built a monument in neutral space showing humans and aliens standing together. The inscription was simple, written in every known language. They fought so we could change. Commander Ji-hoon stood at the memorial with Dr. Yuna beside him. They watched ships from 1,000 different species arrive to pay respects. The galaxy was chaotic now, full of change and innovation and sometimes conflict, but it was also alive in a way it had not been for 2 million years. Do you think we did the right thing? Yuna asked quietly. Ji-hoon thought about the battle, about the deaths, about the massive changes humanity had forced on the galaxy. He thought about the 400 species now free to develop their own paths. He thought about the new technologies being discovered every day. He thought about the future. We gave everyone a choice, he finally said. For 2 million years, the Council decided what was safe and what was dangerous for everyone else. Now each species decides for themselves. That is not perfect, but it is more honest. And honesty is the foundation of real peace, not controlled order.